How do you see the global molybdenum market shaping up this year, Catherine, in terms of supply and demand?
Well, I think this year is going to be a little bit tighter than what we've seen in the past couple of years. We've run a surplus for the past 3 years, and the market looks like it's moving more in a narrow balance. I think that we'll probably continue to see some demand growth, maybe 4, potentially 5% growth in demand, but supply is not necessarily going to shape up the same. I think that we'll probably see fairly flat supply growth. There are a couple expansions coming online and the restart of Freeport's Climax project, but those are going to be offsetting some of the already announced declines in supply. So I think that with this narrow balance, we'll probably see prices continue to trend along where they are right now, about $15 on an annual basis. Per pound.
What has surprised you so far this year? It's early days in this year. What has surprised you about the market so far this year?
Well, we started off this year on pretty firm footing. We had prices rising through the year. We had, some of the uncertainty in Europe, at least early on in the year, dissipate comparably to where it was in 2011. And then we also had stronger manufacturing data come out of China. But I think some of the bigger surprises may be a new resource tax that was imposed in China. This was in February, and it pretty much effectively increased the cost of production in China, total costs, about 30 cents per pound, depending on what you look at the grades. So that is pretty supportive of prices on the long run, and supportive of prices this year, because we are seeing prices in China effectively more around the cost of production, much more so than what we see in the Western world.
Yeah, and looking at the geographic regions of the world, how are they performing? China, Europe, the Americas, North America?
Well, North America was surprisingly very robust in 2011. We saw, fairly strong numbers coming out of the U.S. A little bit softer landing in China. I think that this year we're going to continue to kind of see sluggish markets in Europe, some growth in the U.S., moderate growth in China, but all around it's more contained and moderate levels from where it was in 2011, and even more so than 2010, where we saw really robust growth rates and demand.
Yeah, and how heavily is the European sovereign debt crisis weighing on European performance at the moment?
Well, it's we're not seeing a lot of growth. We have a recession, mild recession in Europe, and we're factoring that into our demand forecasts. And it's weighing on global industrial production. We have global industrial production pretty much halving from where it was in 2011, so a little over 2% in 2012. So altogether, it's definitely taking a hit, and that's partly because China, while it's really made tremendous efforts to boost its domestic consumption, it's still relying on other markets to accept some of its exported products, and one of those consumers is Europe. And so I think for Chinese GDP, exports is still a very sizable portion of it, and the fact that we have this mild recession in Europe, it's definitely weighing on growth globally, including the emerging markets.
Yeah, and globally speaking, finally, which consumption sectors are performing better than others?
We saw the most robust growth rates in the super alloy space in 2011, and that's partly due to the end uses of that. Aerospace and the gas turbines is a very big consumer of the super alloys, but aerospace in particular is because of the long lead times associated with the production of aircrafts. We saw continuous robust demand, even though economic times did slow in 2011. So right now we have a 6-year backlog on some aircrafts for some of the bigger producers, Boeing and Airbus, and that's going to continue to keep demand strong in some of these end markets like super alloys.
Okay, excellent. Thanks very much.